Good morning, everybody. Welcome into the Auburn Blitz podcast here on this Wednesday morning. I'm glad that you joined us here. And as always, we are glad that you are spreading the word about us as we continue to roll those subscribers right on up. Continue to push that out for us. We appreciate it very, very much. Faith, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning. It's good to see you. How are you?
And just rocking and rolling already. A lot to do today. Very busy day. And I know you got a busy day as well. And we got a lot to talk about this morning on the show. And we're excited about it. And as always, we're excited about those that have partnered with us and allow us to bring you this podcast each and every day. Sense of Green for air that's cool and clean. Call on Sense of Green, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama. They will take care of you. If you need repair on your unit, they'll come out and look to see what your issues are. Or if you're looking to install a new unit in your home, make sure you call on Carrier and Sense of Green. They will knock it out for you. Will give you a lot of money back in your pocket with the things that they have going on here to start 2025. And Scout Program Management, our good friends there in Birmingham, Alabama, a full-service construction management firm specializing in educational projects. And, man, there's a lot of them going on here in the state of Alabama. We've got one right here in Alexander City, a beautiful brand new high school that's going up. They are leading that project, and it is ahead of schedule, and they have done a tremendous job. And they have done a lot of schools around the state of Alabama and have more on the horizon. So if you're looking at renovating a school in your system or any type of building or looking at building a brand new school, Scout Program Management is the company to turn to. Faith, it is game day, Auburn LSU. Some crazy games last night on Super Tuesday as Kentucky rolled into Knoxville and knocked off Tennessee. So now they have dropped two in a row, and some similar struggles for them as they had at Auburn as they missed 34 three-pointers. You'd think they'd learn their lesson when they went to Florida and shot themselves out of that game a couple of weeks ago. Shots just not falling for them. I know we'll talk about that a little bit later on and kind of dive into that. But Auburn first, obviously, here on this show. We're going to talk about that game. We're going to talk about some early bracket predictions if we have enough time. We might talk a little bit about the Senior Bowl that's coming up this weekend. We'll have time later on in the week to talk some about that and some other various things that we want to get to. But Auburn traveling to LSU tonight is on the front of the agenda for us, Faith. But just look at, before we go into that game, let's look at the updated standings here in the SEC. Obviously, Auburn sitting atop at 6-0, Alabama at 6-1. Missouri 5-2, Florida 5-2, Mississippi State, Vanderbilt, Tennessee. Tennessee now, I believe. I don't think that thing updated real quick. I'm gonna make sure this is correct before I read any more. But I'm 90% sure that Tennessee is now 4-4 and not 4-3. And that is correct. Tennessee is 4-4. Now that just updated. And then you got, again, Vanderbilt, Kentucky that are 4-3, Ole Miss 4-3, who Auburn plays on Saturday on the road, which will be a big game. And then you've got Texas 3-4, Georgia 3-5, Oklahoma 2-5, LSU, Auburn's opponent tonight at 1-5, Arkansas 1-6, and South Carolina 0-8. Ooh, talk about the change in 1 year. They were in first this time last year in the SEC, and now they haven't won a game.
Yeah, that's got to be tough going from,
That's crazy.
Gosh. Yeah, that's not what you want to see.
No, and, he was up for Coach of the Year last year, and now all of a sudden they can't get a win, and they're below 500 overall now, 10-11 on the season are the Gamecocks. And but let's go to the Auburn game tonight. Auburn taking the going to Baton Rouge tonight to take on LSU. Again, I think Coach Pearl brought it up. You got to be ready to play. You can't worry about what somebody's record is. You look at LSU, and he said it on our show the other day, they're going to finish toward the bottom of our league just because of how strong this league is. And they are at the bottom of the league right now at 1-5. But Faith, you have got to take everybody serious. You saw last night, and again, it's really not a good comparison, but it is hard to win on the road anywhere you go. Doesn't matter who the opponent is. In South Carolina, really had us on the ropes. They had Mississippi State on the ropes. They had Florida on the ropes. They've had a lot of teams on the ropes at South Carolina. So you kind of look at LSU. They're not much better record-wise than South Carolina. Auburn's going to have to play well tonight to get a win.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it all season so far. It's so competitive, and it's so hard to, come out with a win because of how talented each team, in this league is. And it's either way, it's going to be a challenging matchup, whether, for us, especially if it's on the road, that's always playing a huge factor in basically everyone's game, but I feel like especially in ours. But yeah, I mean, and on the road, we haven't covered except for one game, I think, on the road.
Right.
And I mean, sure, we've still come out with wins except for one at Duke, but I mean, it plays a huge factor and role in how many points we score and how well we perform.
No doubt about it. Let's kind of recap where LSU is looking at our opponent tonight. Lost to Vanderbilt 80-72. Lost to Missouri 83-67. Again, just shows you going on the road. It's just so difficult. Go on the road, play Ole Miss semi-close, 77-65. Not a terrible performance. They come back home and they beat Arkansas. But again, Arkansas, another one of those teams at the bottom of the league. But they were able to get a full-point win, 78-74. Texas A&M, 68-57. They had to go there. So obviously another tough trip. Thought they played really well against Alabama. And, when you look at it from a standpoint of what Alabama had just done and coming into Coleman Coliseum, everybody kind of thought that was going to be a 30-point blowout. I thought that. And then Alabama kind of had some turmoil with Mark Sears getting benched in the second half, and LSU kind of played maybe above their heads a little bit. And that game was close. I mean, it was in doubt, with 5 minutes to go in the game. So 80-73, Alabama does hold on to get the win. So now they turn their attention back home. And again, when you look at Auburn going to anybody's place right now, they're the number one team in the country. It's a great opportunity for a team like LSU to say, look, we got nothing to lose. Let's go out here and lay it all on the floor. And how big of a boost that would be to our program if we're the team to be able to knock Auburn off first in conference.
Yeah, I mean, that would obviously speak volumes, for LSU and everything, just ego-wise. And I mean, who's the better Tiger, But I think for Auburn, like we've also said, that so early in the season, Auburn's going to have to lose at some point, I mean,
We hope not.
Yeah, I don't want them to, but
No, we're realistically, yes.
Yeah, if they had to, you'd want it to be this early in the season.
Right.
And I mean, I was talking with Reese about it literally yesterday. He was telling me, oh, Ole Miss is supposed to, they're saying that we might actually beat y'all or whatever at home on Saturday. And I was like, first of all, I'd rather it not be Ole Miss. I'd rather us lose tonight and then go on our revenge tour when we go to the Pavilion in Oxford. But I mean, you don't want to lose late in the season, but I also just don't want it to be.
You don't want to be Ole Miss.
Either.
You just don't want to be Ole Miss for personal reasons, for sure. All right, let's look at who Auburn has played. And, I mean, again, if you look down the list, they played South Carolina, who's dead last. They're about to play LSU, that 1-5. They've played Texas. They're 3-4. They played Georgia, 3-5. I'm going somewhere with this. I'm not trying to create a inflated view of what Auburn's done, but let's be honest. They played the first part of the schedule has been pretty good for them. They played Mississippi State. They're 4-3. They've played Missouri, who's the best team really they've played record-wise in the SEC at 5-2. What does Auburn have coming up? They've got Florida coming up. They've got Alabama coming up. They've got Kentucky. They've got Ole Miss. So it's going to get harder. And we're glad we're sitting at 6-0 in the league. But again, several of those wins have come to teams that don't have a winning record in the conference. So, again, I think if you're going to talk about everything, you got to bring that up. So, again, it doesn't diminish anything that we've done to this point because every SEC game is like gold. You got to gather as many of them as you possibly can. You definitely want to get to 13, and then anything above that really helps your chances to be SEC regular season champs. But the path is about to get tougher. I mean, we talked about it. We look at this thing in thirds. The first third, Auburn went 6-0. Now, these next 6 games for Auburn, which starts tonight on the road, we'll have 2 games on the road tonight and then Saturday at Ole Miss. How are you going to get this second group of 6 started? You're going to get 2 road wins. Then you got Florida coming in to Neville Arena, who you and I talked about this is a very scary team, and rightfully so. And if you look at a lot of early bracket predictions, and we'll talk about that here just a little bit, a lot of them have Florida as a number 2 seed. And I'm not surprised. And if things got going really good for them and they got hot, I'm not saying – I think Auburn and Alabama, unless a major collapse happens, will get number 1 seeds. So I'm a little hesitant to think that the NCAA committee would give 3 number 1 seeds to SEC teams, but Iowa State just lost again. Their potential number 1 seed. If they were to fall off and Florida really finishes strong, let's say they beat Auburn at Neville Arena and they have some other big wins, they could possibly go from that 2 line to a 1 line. So that's what Auburn's got ahead of it. Auburn's got Alabama on the 15th of February coming up, which is in a couple of weeks. So really, really tough matchups coming up in this next group of 6 games. I hate to say it, this is the easiest one coming up tonight against LSU.
Yeah, I mean, you don't want to go into this third or whatever of, we're getting all the easiest game or whatever out of the way. And, we're going to go into the rest of these games and hopefully, we're going to hope for the best or whatever. But do you think so? You think Janai is back 100% fully healthy again, or what?
Well, I mean, I think let's look at what he did Saturday. First of all, we had to have him. It's a great thing that he played. We were all worried about that, but he was not 100%. But he scored 16 points and had 12 rebounds. And as you heard Coach Pearl say on our show this week, he said, just a gritty effort's why he has separated himself from everybody in the country. And I told everybody my opinion is that a 80% Janai Broom's better than 95% of the rest of the country, maybe even 97% of the country. And that's everybody being at 100%. So, yeah, they looked at his ankle after the game, and, of course, he played 33 minutes. So he had a lot of time on the floor, and there was not swelling, no swelling. The medical staff, they've done a great job with him, obviously. And I think he's only gotten stronger this week. And I think he'll be ready to play. And I think he'll be close to 100% tonight. That's just my personal opinion based off what Coach Pearl said on our show and based off what he said in the press conference and just kind of how the feel is with him. So, man, that's a huge plus in getting him back to full strength, and especially when you're going on the road these next 2 games. But talking about our team, and I know that Tennessee kind of lures you into a game like we had Saturday, but we've got to get better outside again at the guard position. Our guards had a subpar night, and if we did not have such a good effort from Janai Broom and Chaney Johnson inside, we would have lost that game, and we would have lost it probably by double digits because none of our guards had a good night. CBM didn't have a good night. So it's good to have depth like you always talk about, and not having to rely on one person to carry or two people to carry your team all the time. And that's what Bruce said on our show. He said, everybody's got one really good player, and he said they can't put their best player on three of our players. So it makes it tough for defenses to try to figure out how to defend us because we do have so many options. Jerron says war down. Michael comes in and says we have to get Denver Jones back. I totally agree, Michael. To me, he was part of the early success in the before the SEC schedule got started, and his ability to start hitting those threes and being an outside threat. And he has struggled with his shot. I think he's putting forth max effort on the defensive side, and I think that may be taking a little bit away from his offensive game because he is busting his rear end so hard defending the other team's point guard, and that's valuable in itself. I mean, he's preventing the other offense from kind of getting into a rhythm, but be nice for Denver to start scoring 8, 10, 12 points a game again.
Yeah, I was going to say at the beginning of the season, we thought he was the most improved athlete on the team. He
outside
had
of Chaney, outside
of Chaney. Yeah.
Yep.
But I mean, he was doing so well and everything. And I do agree with you about, on defense, he is working so hard, but it would be nice to be able to have him come back and make some of the points that he was making earlier in the season and really contribute on the offensive side. But I mean, I can't complain because his defense has been phenomenal, and that has really, really helped, when we've played some of these harder teams, especially on the road too. I feel like he's had such a good opportunity, and he's really proven himself. But yeah, I think maybe against Tennessee, maybe there was just so much well,
let's not diminish. Like, Tennessee is an outstanding team that struggles shooting, and I know that sounds stupid. They are a really good basketball team that, again, you look up in March, you wouldn't be surprised to see them in the Sweet 16. They're that kind of team, but they are right now 4-4 in this league, and they've lost 2 in a row. They got embarrassed on the road by Florida. They lost a 1-point game to Vanderbilt. It is what it is. And most of the reason why they've lost these games is because they can't shoot. And again, they've got an outstanding defensive team. I think that's why you look at Auburn, and we broke this down several weeks ago. There aren't very many teams. I think there's only 2 teams in the whole country that have a top 20 offense and a top 20 defense, and Auburn's one of them. So when you look at it from that standpoint, a lot of these teams have a really good offense and maybe not so good a defense, and vice versa. You can have an off night shooting and lose a game, and not be good enough on the other end. So Tennessee's 4-4. I wouldn't be surprised if they're in the Sweet 16 or even make a run late. But right now, I think it has a lot to do with coaching. And again, I'm not pointing a finger at Rick Barnes, but when you keep shooting threes and you keep missing, maybe you need to change your game plan up a little bit. They've had 2 losses now where they literally shot themselves out of the game. Now, I know that it was closer against Kentucky at home, but that game at Florida was over in the first 5 minutes of the game. I mean, when they got down 17-4 and could not hit the broadside of the barn, Rick Barnes, that's on him. He's the coach. I mean, at the end of the day, you roll the ball out there and let your players make plays, but you also, when you see something's not working, you got to switch up. You got to change things up. And it's like Jeff just said, 45 threes last night from Tennessee, and they missed 34. I mean, it's just too many. It's just relying way too much on the three ball. And
it makes me think about when we had Wendell Green and KD, and they would just be shooting threes every opportunity they got, and the amount of unanswered rebounds from those shots that we weren't able to get, and they, any team would go down, take it, and score on a fast break or whatever, and that was how we were losing ball games. That's
and Bruce has a philosophy to let players shoot. Let your players shoot, and I'm fine with that. That's kind of the modern day of college basketball and the NBA. But the NBA's morphed into I can't even watch it. It's an unwatchable product right now. It's either that's all anybody does is run down the floor and fire up long 3-pointers. It's kind of infected the college game, and coaches like Rick Barnes and Bruce Pearl let their players play, but there are times in certain games when it's not working, you got to figure out a way to change it up. I mean, it's just can't just keep firing up from outside and hoping that it's going to go in. I want to go and talk about. I had somebody text me and say, "What is Auburn? What's the points per game breakdown for players?" Because we're talking about Denver Jones, we're talking about Miles Kelly, and guards are so responsible for a lot of points. Janai Broom still way ahead of everybody at 17.8 points a game. Chad Baker-Mazara at 12.8 points a game. Tahad Pettiford is 11.8 points a game. He's third. Miles Kelly comes in at 10.3. Denver Jones average has dropped down to 10.1 now. He's almost into single digits. And then Chaney Johnson right at 10 points per game. And then you drop off tremendously after that. Ja'Kai Howard at 5.6, Dylan Cardwell at 5.4, and then that's really it. That's the scoring from Auburn. So we talk about a deep bench, but Jaheim Hudson, he doesn't get very many minutes. All of those guys that I just talked about outside of Ja'Kai Howard get 20-plus minutes a game in the rotation. So when you look at it, Auburn really has 8 guys that they really rely on, Faith. So we talk about a deep bench and all, but they really have 8 guys that they depend on. So, on the surface, it looks like you got all this depth, but as we've gotten into SEC play, those minutes have dwindled for some of those other players, and like Chris Moore, Jaheim, and you're seeing more minutes from some of these other guys, which is natural. You're going to put your best players on the floor.
Yeah, I mean, I think, again, still with just how competitive the SEC is, it is nice to have the depth that we do, but, it's still I feel like a lot of the other teams still have somewhat not the same kind of depth that we have, but they still have, those players that are just kind of they're working really hard and they really want the win and all that kind of stuff.
Everybody's got role players. Everybody's got those.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, I just think going in to this schedule that we have that's going to be tough and everything, not only keep everybody healthy, but also just keep everybody on the same page of
right.
not having a selfish game or, those kind of things. I feel like that's so easy to say for me to say not to have a selfish game, but I seriously think it makes such a big difference.
Let's give an update. Let's give an update on that. Stephen Pearl had an interview yesterday. I thought it was really good. He talked about that. He said, we talk about player development. We kind of air our laundry. I think that's really good. They all got in the room and they went around the room and they everybody had an opportunity to talk, and everybody got an opportunity to say what they feel like they're doing well and what they're not doing well. And I know there's been a lot of questions about Ja'Kai Howard. And when it came to Ja'Kai Howard, he said, "Look, I got to work on my attitude and the way I handle, adversity." And again, Bruce Pearl said this yesterday in another interview. He said, and I think you and I said it, and in defense of Ja'Kai and everybody else. I mean, it's a young kid. He's a freshman. He's in an environment he's never been in before. and people handle things differently, and people handle their emotions. And I think Bruce said, I'm an older man, and I still have a hard time handling my emotions. I fall into that category. Faith, I let things get to me, and I kind of blow up and I kind of overreact sometimes. And and you
Be able
got to
to recognize that, though,
right.
so young and so early, I think not only speaks volumes about him, but also that shows that he wants to change it. You know what I mean? Instead of, "Oh, well, I still think I deserve this," or whatever. Like, no, it looks like he does, or it sounds like he does want to change that and kind of
Well, I don't
get
want it to sound like an AA meeting, but part of the only way to get to a solution to a problem is recognize you have a problem, right?
right.
That's the first stage, right? Isn't that the first step? I mean, I don't want everybody to tune in and say everybody's airing their laundry on here and talking about their
But it's
problems.
good to be vulnerable with your
Well,
teammates
well,
because they can hold you
well,
accountable.
and again, I think that shows trust that hey,
Yeah,
I can open up in this room and look. Let me just go ahead and say what everybody else is thinking. Like
yeah.
if I sit over here in the corner and act like I've done nothing wrong when everybody's talking about it, so just go ahead and address it.
That's
And
gonna
again,
tick everybody else off so much more if you sit there and act like you don't
right,
have a problem.
right. So again, um, kudos to him for now. Again, saying it and then working on it is two different things. And you and I talk about that all the time in business. We can come up with all kind of great ideas, but after we get out of a meeting, if we don't act on it, it doesn't mean anything. So talking about it in the room and acknowledging it is the first step. And then the second step is actually going out there and trying to improve and correct the problem. So let's see what happens. And I think we've seen him kind of ride a roller coaster this year. After the plane incident, sat for a while. When he came back, looked like a different player. Now kind of gotten in SEC play and things have kind of drifted back down a little bit for him, and didn't handle adversity too well against Tennessee the other night. So now you kind of have another reality check. Kind of take a step back, look in the mirror, and say, okay, I got to do better. But I told you this yesterday, being around such good teammates and being around such a good coaching staff will help him get to where he needs to be. So we're going to continue to pull for him because he's part of this team. And again, we all have flaws and we all have issues. But when you're playing college basketball and you're on the floor like that, yours get magnified. You have to understand that the spotlight's on you. So hopefully he'll work on that and get better. But tonight, that game tips at 6:00. So it's an earlier game for Auburn tonight. And so if you are watching this podcast right now, you still have time to get on the road and get to Baton Rouge for tonight's game. And man, tickets are incredibly
As
inexpensive.
low as $11.
I mean,
So, $11 if you guys wanna spare
the
spare the
gas,
change, but,
yeah, yeah,
spend a little bit more driving down there, please go ahead. Go
absolutely.
ahead.
I think you'll see. I think you'll see a good contingent of Auburn fans down there because of this. And again, I have to pinch myself to say that you have to go on the road to have a chance to watch your team play. Those were only things Kentucky fans used to could say. That was not things Auburn fans would used to say. But now that's the case for Auburn. So a lot of times fans just say, look, we're just going to save up. And we're going to go to Ole Miss, or we're going to go to Mississippi State, or we're going to go to Athens, or we're going to go to Baton Rouge, or wherever to have a chance to watch Auburn play basketball, which is crazy.
Yeah, those Ole Miss tickets have gotten expensive, so we'll be
You've
waiting
already
in line for 3 hours trying to get in, but
hopefully I think the weather's going to warm up, so maybe it won't be bone chilling cold for you to wait out in the weather
as long as it's
this
not
weekend.
raining.
All right, so let's look at early bracket predictions. I mean, I don't know if it's really too early. Heck, we're about to be in February, so things are starting to take shape. I mean, obviously, there's still a lot of basketball to be played, but Andy Katz, one of his, I'll just use his early bracket prediction. and I won't go through all of them. I'll just go through the one Auburn's in. And he has Auburn, the overall number 1 seed in the South region. And again, that goes through Atlanta. So how about that? You would have an opportunity at some point in time to, if Auburn made it far enough, to be able to go watch them in Atlanta. But we've got Auburn as the number 1 seed in the South bracket. The number 2 seed is Marquette. The number 3 seed is Texas A&M, who we'll see a little bit later in the season. The number 4 seed is Oregon. Really good basketball team, but so far, nobody that really terrifies you in this bracket. 5 is Memphis. We've already played Memphis. Played them in Maui. Handled them pretty easily. Number 6 is Clemson. The 7 seed is Texas Tech. The 8 seed is Baylor. The 9 seed is the defending national champs in UConn. So technically, in round 2, Auburn could play the defending national champs if this bracket were to play out right, Faith. I mean, you would have – now, again, UConn's not playing anywhere near to the level they played the last 2 years, but how crappy is that? I mean, in the second round, the overall number 1 seed happens to draw the 2-time defending national champs in UConn. I mean, look, you just play the games as they are, but that's not some gift for sure.
Yeah, that's definitely – I think their season so far has just been – I feel bad for them.
You feel bad for UConn?
Like, in a way, yeah.
I don't feel bad for Dan Hurley at all in any – that's the most arrogant a-hole coach I think I've ever seen. I mean, literally. I mean, the things that he says, the thing that he said to that official the other night on the floor.
Okay, yeah, that's true.
I mean, dude, how arrogant are you? Look, we know you won 2 national championships. We got it. Okay? Let's not crawl around on the floor like an army man and pitch a fit when you don't get a call. Let's quit belittling everybody around you and quit telling everybody you're the best damn coach in college basketball. I mean, that we don't need you to tell us that. We know you've done a good job, but it's like he's having to prove himself. And he's like, you know, I really wish the camera wouldn't stay on me because there's all these other coaches.
Myself.
Right. Well, the other coaches, you know, do the same thing I'm doing, but they just cheat. I mean, he's playing a victim here. He's like, oh, they're putting the camera on me all the time and they're just waiting for me to blow up. Well, yeah. I mean, dude, in the same light of you talking about I'm the best coach out here and I want all the attention, but when I act like an ass, don't put the camera on me because I don't want everybody to see that side of me. So which one do you want?
It's funny because I feel like between him and Bruce, the heart rate, the blood pressure in that room, I feel like would be through the roof because they're both so like Bruce, I feel like the vein that's coming out of his forehead is one day just gonna, and it's gonna.
Let's hope not. Let's hope not.
No, oh my gosh, I hope not. But it gives me. I see him and I'm like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's so fired up. Little fired up.
Between the both of them, though, I feel like there would just.
But the difference in Dan Hurley and Bruce Pearl is Bruce Pearl's a nice human being. Dan Hurley's not nice. And look, I don't know Dan Hurley. You don't know Dan Hurley. But all we can go off of is what other people say that are in the coaching world. And we saw on game day, I mean, none of the guys there, nobody had anything good to say about Dan Hurley. And that's sad. He is the 2-time defending national championship coach at UConn. But his attitude, we talk about players' attitude. We talk about Ja'Kai Howard. Let's point a finger at this guy. He's supposed to be the adult in the room. And he's acting like I
feel like the kids aren't, I feel like they don't represent that. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, no, I don't think so.
That's why I say I feel bad. Like I feel bad for the kids themselves.
You know, he acts like a guy that's pissed off that he came back and he wishes he'd have taken the Lakers job. You know, it's kind of like one of those deals where he's like, you know, now that my season's not going well, I should have just took the the Lakers job, and I should have just walked out on top and all this kind of stuff. But he's playing the victim here, man. And I just don't. Again, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but I just wanted to talk about in Andy Katz's bracket. There's a potential if it lined up like this for Auburn. Now they'll have to play Baylor, so I'm not saying they beat Baylor, but if they were to beat them, Auburn would play them in the second round, which is kind of wild. They are the defending national champs 2-time. All right, the 10th seed in that bracket is UCLA. The 11 seed is VCU. The 12 is UC Irvine. 13 is Akron. The 14th seed is Utah Valley. 15th seed is Cleveland State. And Auburn will play the winner of the Colgate LIU game as the play-in game. So as that 16th seed. So that's just a speculative bracket. That's a prediction. If things were kind of to lay out right now, Auburn would be the overall number 1 seed in the country, in the South, which obviously that's what you want. You want to be playing in your region. You want to be close to home. But man, that would be tough to take on UConn in the in the second round if it were to lay out like that. All right, let's talk about bunkers. Don't know if you went and looked at that golf league yet, Faith. I meant to send you that link, and I didn't yesterday. But if you like simulated golf, if you like great food, you like a cool bar, you like a place to go hang out with your friends, and it's bunkers. It's no doubt it's bunkers in Auburn on West Glen. They've got all the simulation bays. You can rent one of those out. You can order your food. They'll deliver it right there to your bay. You kind of got your own little private area, and you can compete and have fun. It's kind of like Top Golf indoors, and that golf league that's going on with Tiger Woods and Rory McIlroy and all the pro golfers and teaming up in 4-man teams and playing this virtual golf in that arena is unbelievable. That made me want to go right to bunkers the other night. So go check out bunkers in downtown Auburn on West Glen. It's an awesome place. If you haven't done that already, make that part of your plans there down on West Glen. I got 50 parking spaces in that parking deck. I had some people come up to me this weekend, Faith, and said they went to bunkers and how awesome it was. They saw it here on the show. They didn't even know about bunkers, and then they went there and they're like, "We'll be going back there again." That place was awesome. So
My mother loved that place.
So cool. I mean, it's hard not to like it. I mean,
Auburn is so great.
Yeah, I think
that's right.
I think we're getting a little roboto from you, Faith, on your internet. Okay. I know it's kind of
I lost you there for a second.
Yeah, you were frozen and you were smiling. It looked good. It was fine. Okay. But I think everybody was like, "Man, she is in deep thought here. Like she is really processing about. She is really excited about bunkers and going to play some simulated golf today." But all right, so kind of closing it out here on the program this morning. Again, we want to thank everybody that tunes us in every single day. Spread the word. Please go out and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Again, trying to build those subscribers up so we can give some hats and shirts away here on the program. Do want to say a couple more things for football-wise. If you look at some former Auburn assistant coaches, Trevon Reed to Southern Cal, that's a big deal. Look, I like Trevon Reed and I like Zach Etheridge. You know, it looks like Zach Etheridge may be going to Miami. So, you know, Auburn former players, former assistants continue to move on and do great things at other schools. I wish we could hire every one of them. I wish we could keep all of them at Auburn, but we know that's not the case and that it doesn't work that way. But
it's great watching them go.
It is. And you know, we applaud them all. We cheer them on. We know Travis Williams is at Arkansas, and we know, you know, we got them everywhere. You know, everybody knows all the different assistant coaches that we've got in the SEC coaching at other schools and other assistants over the years that have gone on and coached at other schools. We always pull for them and wish them nothing but the best. And Again, this is two more really quality guys that Auburn's had on their staff, former players, Trevon Reed and Zach Etheridge. So very, very good guys, and moving on up and doing big things, probably aspiring to be a head coach one day. That's kind of what you do. And I think both of those guys eventually would make really, really good head coaches. I didn't say anything, Faith, about the quad one wins, an update on that. I do want to say that in the SEC, Auburn is so far ahead of everybody else with quad one wins. They have 11 quad one wins right now. Kentucky and A&M have 6. Tennessee and Alabama have 5. Florida, Mississippi State, Ole Miss, and Oklahoma have 4. Texas, Missouri, Vanderbilt have 3. Georgia has 2. South Carolina somehow has 1. Arkansas has 1, and LSU doesn't have any. Let's not let them be us be the first one they get tonight.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I keep fearing, that we're going to go into tonight and just
we're going to be fine.
It's all going to be good. It's all going to be
good. Nope, we're going to be good. We're going to have a lot of Auburn fans down there, and they're going to take care of it, and I feel really good about it. I think Auburn's going to play well. They know what's ahead of them. So Auburn headed down to Baton Rouge tonight to take on the LSU Tigers. Should be a fun game. That game tips at 6 o'clock. Again, want to thank Sensagreen for air that's cool and clean. Call them Sensagreen, the carrier experts here in the state of Alabama, giving you thousands of dollars back on new units right now in 2025. Take advantage of that. Call them Sensagreen. Make sure you tell them the Auburn Blitz sent you, and they'll help you out even more. Scout Program Management, full construction management firm that'll help you go from the planning stage of your project all the way to completion, to the keys in your hand. They'll take the stress off of you. They'll handle all the details, and you don't have to worry about all the little things that go into a construction project. Bunkers, we just talked about them in downtown Auburn. West Glen, go make them part of your plans for lunch or dinner. Get your friends together. Great place to go hang out on Friday and Saturday nights. Lee Apparel and Sign Source for all your apparel and promotional product needs and your sign needs. Call on those, located in Dadeville, Alabama. Again, can't thank all of our partners enough. Excited about Sure Shot here in Alexander City, jumping on the podcast here starting in February, and also a couple more that look like they're about to jump in with us, Faith. So we're excited about that. Again, we've got a busy day, both of us ahead. So we're about to get that rolling. Again, want to thank all of the people that tune us in and get their information from us here on the Auburn Blitz. So Faith, good luck today. You got a big day, and we will catch up at 8 o'clock tomorrow, everybody. So make sure you tune us in here for the Auburn
740 with Randy.
740 with Randy. Yep, it's like 750. We kind of start just about 5 to 10 minutes earlier than what we normally start here at 8 o'clock. And then I know you'll jump in at 8:20 tomorrow, and hopefully we'll be talking about a big Auburn win over LSU. And so we'll talk about that in detail tomorrow. So, all right, everybody, Auburn Blitz show coming up at noon today. Don't ever forget about that. We always have that show at noon. It's where all this was born. It's where it all started. So keep tuning us in there as well. And we will be back with you in the morning for another episode of the Auburn Blitz podcast. Have a great day, everybody, and War Eagle.
War Eagle.